Okay guys, we're going to make some of these Easter eggs today out of paper mache. Last time we made the Easter basket, and now we need some Easter eggs to go in our basket. And these are just about free to make. You just need a little bit of flour, some junk mail like you see I have here that you can just tear up in strips, and maybe some old book pages if you have those laying around. I just like the way that it looks better. And that way you don't even have to paint it, you just have words on it. Or also, one of our choices will be painting it, so you're going to need some pretty Eastery kind of colors like these. A paintbrush, a little piece of sandpaper, some tape. This is called masking tape. It's probably the best you can use, but almost any kind of tape would work. And then a mixture of about a cup of water with a cup of flour. Just water and flour. Mix it until it looks kind of like this, like ready for making pancakes. Okay, just water and flour, mix and mix. That's about all you need for making these little Easter eggs, and it's called paper mache. You can actually make anything with paper mache. This is very, very hard. All it is some junk mail rolled up into a little ball, like so. So you're going to want to make a lot of strips. Doesn't matter what size, it can be tiny, it can be bigger. I've actually made a full-size dragon over 5 feet high with paper mache before. I've also made a dinosaur that was about 14 inches high. He sat on the table. Made one of those with one of my clients once that was into dinosaurs. And also me and my sister one time for a young women's camp out, we made a full-size water well, like a well that you would get water out of, by making something kind of like this, only bigger, like about that big, and making fake rocks, round rocks. And then we covered this piece of chicken wire. We made the chicken wire into the shape, it was about 3 feet across, into the shape of a well, and then we wired these rocks onto it until it was a full-size well. It was really quite a project. Okay, so you're going to keep doing this, and also with the book pages too. Whichever you want to use, you can do the whole project with either one of these or both. So what you're going to start doing, these are the size eggs that we needed for the Easter basket that we did the other day. But I decided, well, what if I wanted to go smaller or bigger? You could do that too. So I made this little one here. And then I thought, well, what if I could even go smaller? So then I made this one. It's about the size of a Tic Tac. You could also, yeah, these are like eggs. That's actually the size of a hummingbird egg right there. Or what if you could even go smaller and make some for a dollhouse? And that's when I made these teeny tiny ones. They're actually not that easy to make because they're so tiny. But once the flour and water mixture dries, like I showed you, it's really hard, tough. So I made all these different kind of sizes. I need about one more for a nice picture in the basket. So you're going to take some of this junk mail and you're going to crunch it up like so. And then just keep adding to it until it's about the size that you want your egg to be. And as you're scrunching, try and form it into the shape of an egg. I know it doesn't sound easy, and it's not that easy, but you guys can do it, trust me. And then if things are getting out of control, you can kind of rein it in by wrapping another piece around it like this. And then this is what you're going to need the tape for. You're going to grab a piece of tape. You're also going to help that control. If things are getting kind of out of control, you just help it get back in control like that. Show it who's boss. That's what I like to say. Show it who's boss. You are the boss over paper and tape. You're also the boss over your life, so that's good to remember. So keep doing this, putting more tape and more paper until it looks just about right. That's not too bad. Looks like we might need a little bit more right here. I kind of feel like there's like a dent right here. So let's just put a little bit there to kind of fill that in a little bit better. And then of course we're going to want to tape it so it stays where we want it to stay. And one more piece of tape, and then we're ready for the papier-mâché. Now the papier-mâché, like I say, it's a mixture of flour and water. Just keep mixing it until it looks about right, and you can't go wrong. It can be too watery or too thick. It doesn't really matter. It's all going to dry. Water dries out of it, and it's perfect. So, but about like a pancake mix. And then you're going to dip it. It'll get a little messy with this, so you might want to get an apron or an old pair of clothes so you don't ruin your clothes. Just rub it down both sides of it, just like you saw me do there. And then you're going to wrap it around the egg, just like so. And the cool thing about this is when the newspaper gets wet, it is really easy to form around the cracks and crevices and stuff. I try to make only one layer. Now, as you can see, it kind of overlapped a little bit, which is okay, but you don't want about 10 layers because then it'll get moldy before it dries. So try for one layer, and then use smaller pieces to go around these curves at the top. So I'm gonna dip it in the flour water mixture there. Make sure the paper is wet on both sides, and then put it on. And when it's wet and soggy, it'll form right to whatever you're doing. And if you have to, dip your finger in the mixture and add a little bit more. Just keep working like this. And if you find that it's getting too wet, like right there, just get a piece of paper and put it right over there. Almost everything is almost 100% free, except for the flour. You gotta pay probably a few cents for the flour. So again, you're gonna dip it into there, get it nice and wet. Cover up until you can't see the tape anymore. Put one layer until you can't see the tape anymore. Now these are just little Easter eggs, so they don't have to be real sturdy or anything. They're just gonna sit there in the basket for a decoration. But if you were making something that you wanted to be a little bit stronger, like maybe like a dinosaur or something like that, you can also make piñatas out of these. And anything you can imagine or find on the internet to copy, you can make out of papier-mâché. That's the beauty of papier-mâché. I one time made a little doll stroller from my my dollhouse, which I'll probably show you how to do those in another video. And you can use either junk mail or these old book pages, or a combination of both. Kind of like how the book pages look after, but if you're just going to paint it anyway, junk mail's just fine. And if you find that things aren't working out like you want it to work out, go at it from a different angle maybe. I let these dry overnight, maybe even the part of the next day. Just kind of keep an eye on them and see when they look like they're getting dry. Yeah. And so this is how you do it. So if something comes off, put it back on. And don't get frustrated. If you get too frustrated, start getting frustrated, then just walk away from it. Maybe go outside, take a walk, cool off, maybe come back at it another day even. Because if you're getting frustrated, that's not fun. And art is supposed to be fun. Or you can ask a grown-up or a friend to help you be more successful at it. And most eggs in the world are pretty perfectly shaped, so. But this is art. It's called art. You noticed, I'll show you my egg again in a minute. It's in no way is it like an egg in nature. It's kind of misshapen here or there. I know you're going to say, oh, she told us to put only one layer and she's putting 2 layers, but sometimes it does end up getting 2 layers here or there. That's okay. Just make sure you don't have like 10, because like I say, it's hard for it to dry without getting moldy. And then if you do want to make something stronger, like I was mentioning a minute ago, like let's say you're doing a dinosaur toy or something that's maybe going to get a little bit of wear, get played with or something. And you do want to put 2 or 3 layers. Like that's what we did on our dinosaur. I think we put 4 layers on the big, not the dinosaur, the dragon. We made a big mascot for one of the schools around here. 5-foot dragon with a bowling ball for an eye. It was the most awesome thing ever. And if you starts falling off, no problem, just stick it back on. So if you do want 3 or 4 layers, what you do is you put 1 or 2 layers on like so, let it dry overnight. Then the next day after it's dry, go back at it again. And then after that day after it's dry, go back at it again until it's got as many layers as you want to be as sturdy as you're going to need. And then here's one way that I help them dry. Sometimes I'll use something like this, and then I'll just kind of set it there so that, because if you set it on a paper or a table or something, it could wreck whatever you set it on because it's going to be glued to it in the morning. These, they come off a little bit easier because it's just attached kind of part way to it. But you could use like 2 paintbrush handles stuck together or side by side and then set it on there. Anything like that that's gonna help it not be stuck to the table in the morning. Okay, so here's another one that I did, all hard and dried up. What you're gonna need to do, let me wipe my hands off for a second here. Okay, so what you're gonna need to do with these eggs if you want to paint them, sometimes, like I was saying, they come out a little bit misshapen, like, you know, not perfect like an egg that you would buy in the store, but that's the point of that's why it's art and not real life. What I do is I take a little scrap of sandpaper and I just sand it just a tiny bit where there's bumps or where the paper's sticking out a little bit. Just a little bit, just to kind of make it a little bit more smooth. You don't have to do this step if you don't want to. It just helps it look a little bit more smooth. So, and then if you go to your parents and say, hey, I need a piece of sandpaper, ask them if you can keep it, and then get like a shoebox, a plastic shoebox, or a cardboard shoebox, and then just start keeping these things in there, because all of my projects are going to use a little bit of stuff you find around the house. I don't usually make expensive stuff, but a lot of recycled things that you can just find and make almost free. So here's my egg after I sanded it a little bit, and I think we're going to paint it light blue. Let's paint this one light blue. So shake up your paint a little bit like so, because it'll sometimes settle and get watery on top. And get your paintbrush, and what I do is I paint 1/2 of it. So that I have somewhere to set it while it's drying. I let this one dry overnight, so you're probably wondering, how did that dry so fast? This was one I made a couple days ago. So you're going to paint it like so, and then after it dries, you can maybe even paint a design on it. I'm going to let this set down on a piece of paper. It doesn't matter if it sticks to it, because then I'll paint the back after that dries. Okay, so set that one aside to dry. And wash your brush out. Don't forget to always wash your brush as soon as you're done using it, or at least stick it in a jar of water. That's usually what I'm doing. I'll have a jar of water at my desk so that it doesn't dry like that. Because if this paint dries on there, it's going to destroy that brush. You won't be able to use it ever again. So let's try a pink one. 3 different colors that are light pastels. That'll look nice when we go to put them in our basket. So since these are free and they're so easy to make, you can spend all day making them for everyone in your family and all your friends. It's really fun. You can really get into it. I know right now you can't really gather with your friends because of the COVID virus, but what's also really fun is to get together with cousins or family, brothers, sisters, friends, and do big messy projects like this. Maybe outside at a picnic table would be good, somewhere where you're not going to make too big of a mess. And this is just the first coat. We'll do maybe one more coat of paint. And I don't paint the whole thing at once because remember we're going to need somewhere to set it to dry. So we'll come back in a little bit and we'll add more to the other side of that one. So that's basically how you paint them. And then when they're all dried and with their designs, go ahead and put them in the Easter basket. And that's how you make papier-mâché Easter eggs.